Facebook.
Yes, we are live, Beck. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to all the listeners who are continuing to support us and listening to us. Once again, we are bringing the topic, We Are One, Freedom of Free Spirited. Now, today is going to be very, very emotional in a good way of emotions, and not emotional. You don't have to be emotional. When the year passes, you are emotional to react and to reflect. But today, once again, we continue our series of podcast series, Freedom of Free Spirited, with our beautiful, lovely host, Beck, who has been holding the fort. And this is our 4th episode. Today, we are bringing a topic called Control Emotional Reactions. I'm not going to talk much about it. It's going to be our special guest today. I don't know how to introduce her, and Beck will do that justice to her. But here is a person that I know who has gone through, been through, and done through, and still going strong. So I can only say that the positive outcomes of Deborah, who comes from a background of multifaceted things, but her experiences that she's going to share today are multifaceted as well. So I am delighted and I'm excited to hear from her. So without further things ado, I'm going to hand over to Beck, who is our host for today. As always, she's going to hold the fort. Over to you, Beck.
Thank you, Shailesh. Welcome. I'm so excited and so grateful to be able to introduce Deborah to you all today. I've got my notes because I really want to do justice to Deb. So Deb's been through some traumatic experiences in her life, but she's definitely put it all together and she's come through the end. She's experienced a near fatal accident, having sustained some devastating injuries. She beat the medical odds and went on to achieve some personal and professional success. She's dedicated to driving opportunity, to facilitating freedom for personal and professional success. She is very passionate about empowering others to create opportunities to build success, even when it seems impossible. Now, I've only recently just met Deb, and I feel her energy that, you know, in our conversations, in our very brief conversations, and I am so empowered already. I'm so excited. I was saying before we jumped on to Deborah that, like, the energy I carry today, I've got goosebumps. So I'm really excited for today. Let me just go on a little bit further. So she is a powerhouse woman, this lady, and I really want to introduce her. She has, you know, she's written books. She's a guest speaker. She's an empowering woman, and she's here today with us to, as we dive into our topic. And this topic is one that I'm still learning. So this is really a topic of my choice of our podcast, is to control your emotional reactions. So I'd like to hand over to Deb now as we dive into a few topics and we have a real conversation just about this issue at the moment.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me as part of this podcast. I'm absolutely excited. And yeah, Beck, our conversation that we've had, we were having a number of those, the spark of the beginning of those aha moments. And Shailesh, we often have those conversations where, you know, we connect on so many levels. So yes, I'm really thrilled to be part of this podcast. Thank you. And for that beautiful introduction as well.
Oh.
Yeah, so I just wanted to jump in here quickly and just say that this is a real experiences that we are bringing to all you listeners. And these are not stories that are written in the books, but these are stories that are scripted through their own journey. And Deborah, I take this opportunity to really appreciate and thank you for bringing this live for us, your real story to tell and also give more confidence. And as I always say, that strength, emotions should not be considered as weakness. Emotions should be considered as your strength. And so this is all about topping how to control your power, how to control your strength. So controlling emotional. And Beck mentioned in her talks as well, that whether you react to emotions or whether you respond, as Deborah has written in her book as well. Do you react or do you respond? And this is a fine line between those two that we are going to uncover today from Deborah. So I am not going to talk much today. It's going to be big in Deborah. And Deborah, I would like to share this with you, that you definitely have got that courage to come together here today and discuss your story. So over to you, and tell us, how did you do this and keep doing this?
Thank you. So I suppose elaborate a little bit on I suppose that journey that I've introduced there. So without going into too much detail, being mindful of the time frame as well, and wanting to stick to the key topics. So many years ago, I was involved in a traumatic car accident, and I'll get straight to the point. So statistically speaking, I should not be alive. The prognosis was brain damaged, blind in the right eye, physically unrecognizable, and a life relying on other people. To this day, I'm very, very, very proud to say that I beat pretty much every single medical odd against me. So I do look recognizable after a lot of work. I'll get to that in a minute. I'm not blind, yay, in the right eye. And I have multiple qualifications. I've traveled internationally. I have a successful career, and I have 2 beautiful children. So I defied the odds. And how did I do that? I did that through, well, what I'm kind of known for, relentless pursuit. And one of my key programs that I deliver is authentic reinvention. And that was at core of what I do as well. Core of what I do, authentic reinvention and creating opportunity from tragedy. And how do we do that? It's the lesson. The lesson's the key. What can we learn about ourselves in times of darkness that we can use that knowledge to then improve our life and make better decisions for our life? And this is where we get into the topics of understanding our emotions and understanding our triggers and responding instead of reacting, understanding the difference, and then being able to uncover why we react and what the potential negative impacts of that are. So for me, the journey's been long. Like, I'll be blunt, it took me 10 years after my car accident to feel comfortable, properly confident looking in the mirror. So trigger warning for people listening, watching. My injuries were that to be blunt, smashed in my face. So I broke I don't know if people can see this, but lower jaw, my upper jaw, my cheekbone, the eye orbit, my forehead, my nose, my cheekbone, and my upper jaw. And the worst break was through the sinuses, and the skull base, which is what your brain sits on internally. And I also have a traumatic brain injury, or ABI, TBI, ABI. So I've had facial reconstruction, I've had brain surgery, and yes, I'm obviously grateful to the incredible medical team and the response team and all the nurses and, oh my goodness, rehabilitations and all of that. There's another point. There's a point of now what? When you get home, tick hospital, tick rehab, now what? And this is where we have power, and this is where understanding your emotions becomes pivotal to changing the trajectory of your life. Either going, oh, I'm the victim of, or what can I do now? So that's probably a synopsis of the short version of me.
No, that's perfect, because I think that leads into I'm really holding space for you, and I honor you for sharing your story with us, and I've got goosebumps, and I'm so extremely proud of you and your journey, and for you to be able to be here to share with us your experience, and I'm sure there are other people that have experienced similar tragedies, and I'm just trying to find some courage to build their life back again. So I'm so proud that we can have you as that person to show the way and to be that example that if you really try, if you really want, you know, you can get back out there, you know.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to just share that. But I guess with what you just said, it leads me into my next question as to then how do we unravel what the emotions are that we're feeling, and being able to, you know, what are the processes to acknowledge those emotions, and then how do we deal with, you know, that next process?
Yeah. And a big part of that is understanding our triggers. And people often think about triggers in terms of, say, post-traumatic stress disorder, which I do have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, as I've had other traumas through my life before and after my car accident. And however, triggers aren't just, I don't say just, but aren't only related to people that have post-traumatic stress disorder. We all have triggers, things that bring on that reaction. We don't even know, it happens automatically. And often this is from childhood, mind you, which is, you know, it's a whole other topic, but we could get into beliefs from childhood, we won't go there.
So many layers.
So many layers, but it's worth a mention. However, understanding our triggers, so being aware of the fact that there are triggers, and being mindful of that and noticing the patterns of behavior. So doing it in the moment can be difficult because we're emotion driven and emotions are high and we're running on adrenaline. However, we always have the opportunity after to sit and review. And now when we sit and review after, what happens is the more we do that, the closer to the event it happens next time.
Yeah.
The more we do that, we start to be able to do it in the event, because then we start to know what might trigger us. So, for example, certain spaces, certain noises, certain words, people that might make certain comments about perhaps our personal appearance might set off a trigger that makes us defensive, for example. So behaviours to look out for are snapping, are overreacting to small things after an event. So you might not notice it initially, but then you might find yourself just getting really annoyed while you're making dinner.
Agitated.
And it's like frustrated at yourself while you're making dinner. And it's like, well, what is this? That's a sign that perhaps something happened earlier on that you're not acknowledging as well. And I know that sounds so simple. However, this is what plays out. It's about, where do you feel it in your body?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
so I think we really need to stress that this is not, it's not a quick fix. It's not a, you know, it's not gonna, you know, we're not going to be able to heal overnight. It's definitely, you know, this is the warning that it's definitely going to be the hard work. It's, you know, replaying the situations and unfortunately putting yourself back in those moments to be able to learn those tools to understand your body and your triggers and your nervous system a little bit deeper.
Yeah. And often we don't want to do it because it's almost like our subconscious wants to protect us. So we don't want to go back and have a look at, why did I get upset? Because we don't want to feel that. Problem is, if we don't understand it, we can't unravel it and get to the core of what the truth is. So, for example, and I actually put this example in my book as well. We might be getting upset about dinner, for example, making dinner. Oh, but why are we being so hard on ourselves about dinner? It's not about dinner. What's the belief and why do I have that? What happened earlier that put me in the state to feel this way and get agitated here? Once we know what that is, then all of a sudden we can unpack that and we can prevent that sort of behavior from happening. But we need to address it in the first place. So understanding our triggers, what makes us feel uncomfortable, what causes unwanted reactions and sensations in our body. Often it's very physiological. It's a feeling that you get. So understanding triggers, I actually have a self-questioning technique, which I happily share if you think that's appropriate, to help break down triggers.
Definitely.
So number one, what specifically about this has caused my upset? So I'm going to use the dinner one. And I know this is you're probably thinking dinner. It's because it's an everyday one. So I'm cooking dinner. Why am I upset that the stir fry got stuck to the bottom of the pan? Why does that matter? Now, this has happened to me. I'm using a real example. you know what? I never do anything right. I made a mistake. What about making a mistake? This is the next question, question 2. What are my feelings about this and why does it upset me? So my feeling about that is that I made a mistake, which means there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. There's the belief.
Yeah.
There's the fear. I'm not good enough. I made a mistake. I'm not good enough. Why does this upset me? Well, I don't want to not be good enough. Okay. Now it's the simplest thing, but look at what it's showing us.
Yeah.
Look at what it's showing us. This is an opportunity right here. This is why I say tragic opportunities are everywhere. So why is this? So question 3, why does that matter to me? And this is where often you sit and go, okay, so for me, and this has happened to me over dinner, let me tell you. For me, because I'm scared I can't multitask anymore after my brain injury. I'm scared I can't complete things. I'm scared I'm going to stuff up everyday life. What if I can't do it? What if other people can tell? What if I can't look after my children? That's why it bothers me.
Yeah.
And if you're someone else, perhaps it's, and this is what I've heard with my clients, is in similar type situations, because, well, what will my husband, partner, mother, father, cousin, whoever, friend think of me, colleague, think of me?
Yeah.
Okay. These are really, really important things to pinpoint. Question 4, what judgment am I making about myself in this situation, and how is this unhelpful? So the judgment is, well, I've made a mistake, so that means there must be something wrong with me. Well, hang on, that's unhelpful because I'm making a massive assumption over one thing. Let's remove myself for a minute. What assumption am I making about somebody else? So someone who loves me, mother, father, husband, is going to judge me on making a mistake? Really? That's not helpful. How is this unhelpful? It's unhelpful because it's creating a negative situation that I don't have any proof of necessarily.
So you start creating stories in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're making assumptions about ourselves. We're making assumptions about other people. Hang on. Let's be honest. Back up. Hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what happens with triggers, though. This is what happens in the subconscious. And here's a key question here. Number 5 is, what else is connected to this situation or has happened today or recently that has upset me? Okay. Or is bringing up a memory. Okay. So, and this may not always apply, mind you, but often it does. So, well, hang on a minute. What's coming up for me in this? I've made a mistake. Sometimes it is that someone around you is critical all the time. Need to review that relationship. Let's not go there. That's a whole other story as well.
Yeah.
But I'll mention it because, again, it's an important topic. So I'll just say that, but I'll move on. And, you know, am I in an environment, perhaps work environment, that is too demanding, or I'm not happy in, or I've overcommitted myself to something?
Yeah.
These sorts of questions to ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 6, the key one, how can I reconsider this situation? So let's step out of ourselves and go, it got stuck at the bottom of the pan. That doesn't mean anything about me.
Yeah.
Think about MasterChef. My God, they burn everything, you know. but the point is, but the point is sometimes just really thinking about, well, cut yourself some slack.
Yeah.
Everybody gets upset. It's okay. Acknowledge the feeling. Think, okay, I see you, but that's okay. I'm going to move on from that now, and I'm going to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So, and again, I've rushed through this a bit. It's a bit more involved, obviously, but I just wanted to highlight some key points. You know, really, it's about sitting with it and acknowledging, where does it come from, and how can I re-review that? Because once you know that maybe I'm feeling judged. Why am I feeling judged? What can I do about that? There's your power. What can I do about that? That's where we can change things. That's why understanding triggers is important.
And then I guess from, you know, so once we are understanding the triggers, it's just about putting those little steps in play and, you know, and reflecting and reviewing on each situation scenario as they come up, because I think the more that we step out of the situation, the more that we, not necessarily push it under the rug, as they say, but
Right.
the more we walk away from it, the longer it's going to be there, and the longer, and our reactions are going to continue to arise.
Yeah, it's like you walk towards it to unravel it, and then it's not so powerful anymore.
Yeah,
because it's not often what we're reacting to is not the cause of the problem. That's not the root cause. But until we address that and evaluate the trigger within that moment, we're not going to be able to break that subconscious habit of reacting to certain situations, because we need to know why. Why are we doing that? And then it's practice. It's evaluation. It's practice. The more you do it, the more you understand yourself, and then something will happen, and you'll notice that you'll be able to pick up the feeling, get this feeling, go, oh, hang on. Oh, and then there's other techniques that can be used. Obviously there's techniques to use in this process as well, but we don't have time to go through them. But I do go through that in my coaching. Yeah. So
I got one question here. Triggers, understanding triggers and how they influence our behavior as a normal. When you had this incident or event, I would call it, it's a big event that you come out of it. At that point, did you think that you became more closer to yourself through these triggers, or you became more confident through these triggers? What was your reactions to it when you first thought that you gave me a lot of examples today with the triggers. There are lots of trigger points, but then for you, as in that situation, how did you came closer as a free-spirited awakening, that kind of thing, where you are too complacent about your life, but then this event happens and all of a sudden you change, looking at yourself and becoming yourself, or coming closer to yourself?
I think that the interesting thing I learned and gained a deep understanding of how multifaceted trauma is, and how that particular trauma, how certain other beliefs and traumas from my childhood raised their ugly heads, for lack of a better way of expressing it, and how they impacted
the trauma at hand,
the trauma that I was experiencing. But also what it did was give me an opportunity to unpack that stuff, which perhaps I was a little bit ignorant to before. So it gave me the opportunity to go, oh, hang on, let's dig a little deeper and understand myself even more. And this is where, and some of it's been confronting. However, I wouldn't be where I am today, and I wouldn't have achieved what I have today if I didn't do that. Because when we sit in denial, or when we put a victim hat on, which is, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all.
No,
as soon as we start using the word victim, we render ourselves powerless because it happened to me. As opposed to, okay, yes, it happened. However, I have power of choice as to what I do from here. Yes, there are limitations. Yes, there are constraints, but there's still choice. So I'm a big fan in facing the painful, ugly, remorseful truth. But that's how we grow. So for me, yes, it was about connecting more to my true self and my true feelings, and understanding that, I have a little saying now. Just bring this in now. I'm not in the business of wasting my time or anybody else's, because it's precious. It's precious.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think that's important.
So tell us the journey that you had since then, and then you overcome medically, mentally, emotionally, and that's the journey that we would like to hear from you. How did you cope with all these three aspects? You had in medical situation, you were in mental state of making that happen, or accepting that you are in medical state, and then emotionally you want to move on and not get stuck there. So how did that journey panned out for you so far? And is that the memories or the, what do you call it, the stuck, you are still stuck in there, or you are still uncovering, or have you uncovered a lot of things and yet uncovering from there?
Yeah, I think we're always uncovering things if we have the courage to look for it.
That's right.
Let's be blunt. It's true. Yeah. Because knowledge is power, as cliche as that is. Knowledge is power. The more we know and understand ourselves, the more we can work on that and use that information to make more informed and better decisions for ourselves. And the clearer we can see as well. So I've had lots of challenges, from, look, I tried to escape the hospital wearing nothing but my gown and holding my books. Now, that was because I wasn't accepting that reality.
Yeah.
Deborah, where are you going? I'm going home. Now, does everybody have that in them? Somewhere. Does everybody have that in them in that moment? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
However, we can tap into that, though. That's why I'm passionate about what I do now, is because we're all different, but we can tap into whatever our unique power is to move forward and authentically recreate ourselves in our life. So for me, it was one step at a time, one moment at a time. There's and Shailesh, you know this story, I believe it, but I'll share the short version of it, which is when I was in the hospital, the mirrors were covered because the sight of my reflection was very traumatic. I have a dream-like memory of once seeing my face. It's because of the brain injury and all the medication. I don't quite remember it. It's a weird sort of memory, but it didn't go down well, put it that way. When I moved to the rehab centre, I was in the rehabilitation centre. I was in a little room by myself, and there was a mirror that was not covered. Far less medication. I'd had the initial facial reconstruction and the brain surgery. I remember sitting there, and I wasn't connected to drips or anything anymore. And I remember I was spotting it, and I was like, now the short version is I eventually made my way over there, and it took me a while to actually look up. I remember that little sink very well because I was looking down. And I'll never forget looking at my face. Now, there had been the initial reconstruction, but I didn't look like me, and I didn't look like this either. And that was, without, I don't want to, as a trigger warning, I don't want to go through all the details of that right now, but the impact of that and my half-shaved head and the scarring and etc. was really, whoa. But here's the key. In that moment, what do you think I felt? Fear.
Yeah.
Fear.
Sure.
I'm in this little room and I'm skinny as, I got my jaw wired. I don't look like me. This eyelid's closed, half my face is depressed and sunken and lower, right? Half my head's shaved. Okay. And I'm like looking at myself going, oh my God, this has happened. Heart sink, that feeling. And the initial thing I felt was fear. So retreat, right? We retreat in fear.
Yeah.
But I learned in that moment that the moment that we retreat in fear, we get exactly the thing we don't want because we render ourselves powerless.
Yeah.
I remember feeling that and going, I don't want to feel like this. And something happened. I looked around that room and I went, I don't want this. So everything that she can't, she won't be able to, all those limitations I was being presented with. I'm like, I don't want that. And when I retreated in fear, that's what I was feeling. So I went, hang on a minute. What do I want?
So again, it comes back to choices, and it comes back to,
Choice.
what your values are and who you are as an individual. And I think everybody has inner strength
Yes.
to find those choices.
Yes.
But it's the the layers of limitations and, you know, the self-critic that I think we render to the fears, because it's safe behind the shield that that we put up for ourselves, or that we've grown up with as we've, you know, as children, that, you know, our parents have protected us from, or, you know, the community's protected you from, and those sorts of things.
And that's spot on, absolutely. And almost get wrapped in cotton wool a little bit. And it's with the best intentions, don't get me wrong. And there's a place for that, especially when there's injury or and other emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, etc. Trauma. However, there's a point where we can exceed expectations and we can defy the odds. And I'm living proof of that. That moment, and this moment, I've drawn on this so many times in my life since, and it's helped me defy the odds numerous times since as well. And I remember I put my hands on either side of that little sink, and I looked in the mirror, and I think I said it out loud, and I was like, okay, Deb, you're here now. What are you going to do? What do you want? You're here now. Acceptance of where you are. Focus forward. What are you going to do? You know what? One baby step at a time. I was released from rehabilitation about a month early.
Wow.
I wowed them. You know, the next day it was just about walking an extra step, you don't climb Mount Everest in a day, cliche, I know, but it's not about that.
Well, that's
one
exactly
step,
it.
and celebrate that extra step, because then that creates confidence and independence. And before you knew it, I was back at work that same year, by the end of the year. So my accident happened in January, and I started working in November. Went back to work.
Wow. That's cool.
Wow.
That's full of confidence.
And that was,
incredible.
I got home and I'm like, this isn't enough. My brain doesn't work the way it used to. What can I do? What do I want? Focus forward. And I think what's really, and we were talking about this prior to the podcast as well, was understanding the difference between reacting and responding. See, fear was a reaction. Responding was, hang on, I'm here now. What am I going to do? So here's the difference. Reacting is frenetic, impulse-driven, and not thought out. Often driven by fear or desperation, or when we feel we're cornered. Responding is purposeful and thought out and calm. And the more we practice this, the more we gain power to be able to do it. Knowing the difference is really important in terms of controlling your emotional reactions. Because, look, we're all going to have them. However, they will curve down the more we understand them, the more we understand the triggers, the more we understand why we do certain things, then all of a sudden we view things different. Our subconscious changes, we don't react anymore. Great outcome. Seems scary at first because we've got to look at it. But it's so much better outcome in the end.
That's right, because you only have, you know, well, it's probably not, you only have to look at it once, but, you know, once you've processed it, and once you've acknowledged what the fears are and what the triggers are, and understand how to handle those, you know, like you'll respond rather than react, you know.
That's
and once you know, the more you respond, the less you react.
Exactly. And look, we're all going to have moments where we react to something, sure. However, we still have the option to take a step back and then review what our reaction was. And that's the moment of power as well. And look, having complex post-traumatic stress disorder, reacting can be tough. Like certain noises, I have a physiological response, as in my heart pounds and I'm about to have a panic attack. I understand them, and the more I understand it, the less it is, and the more I go, oh, hang on, I feel this now. Hang on, what is it? Let me reevaluate. The more I practice, the more I can do it. And of course, again, that's
because
a whole
reactions are, it is, and reactions are, you know, it's draining on the nervous system, you know, like, so it will take a lot longer to have that energy and to have that space, you know, like mentally, to be able to acknowledge and recognize those triggers, to work through them, to then you know, once you start responding, and again, celebrate those little steps,
Yeah.
you know, like, because once those situations of reacting lower, give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, like, because then when you do react, it's, you know, I don't react every time.
Exactly.
It's just, you know, like, I've got 5 responses to 1 reaction, and, you know, like, before you know it, you'll have less reactions.
Exactly.
And you know, you'll be able to respond in the moment, as you said, you know, because that's the aim of it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, you know, there's no perfect formula for anything, and we're all different. And it's about reducing the severity as well of a, you know, we might have a reaction, but it doesn't have to be as extreme, perhaps. And yeah, when we know the difference, we can really, really keep an eye out for it and really unpack it. And like I said, for example, with me, certain noises are full on, and that's something that admittedly I continually work on. And in certain instances, yes, with CPTSD, well, yes, I've had professionals help me with that, because that's, you know, someone that specializes in that area, because that's incredibly complex work. At the same time, working with a coach, working, you know, in personal professional development, understanding this is so empowering. There's so much we can do by being with the right community and connecting to ourselves. We're far more empowered than we realize we are.
Definitely.
So coming to that similar situation, what Beck was asking you, and then what do you think was the emotional support? Because this is all about controlling reactions and responding. You mentioned, and Beck was saying this is perfect. But in terms of your situation and your circumstances that you were in, the emotional support that you seek at that point or needed at that point, mental support is one, but physical support is one, which the doctors were handling. However, your own self and emotional support you were seeking from others or around you or surround you. Was there a point at that point that you relied more on emotional support from others, or was it your own? And till date, how do you see that emotional support? Are you still seeking that?
That's a really good question, because what I learned in that process, and since, mind you, as well, is that yes, of course, the need for support from others, especially when, you know, I could barely walk, or you know, physical, mental, emotional, etc. Support is so important. What I learned, though, is that the key to that is building our own strength to support ourselves as well. So as it's a support, but it's not a support where you're reliant on someone else or something else. Does that make sense? So there's a difference. So yes, I needed help in certain instances. Of course I did. What was really empowering was my family was very, very supportive, but also very emotionally supportive and encouraging of my desire to defy the odds, of my desire to challenge those limitations. And that was key. Now, there was a point also where I sat down with my mother and said, it's okay to take away some of the cotton wool now. I'm okay. Because there was still an element of fear, which of course I'm a mother now, I get that, you know. However, at the same time, she'd been so supportive of me being strong and defying the odds. I mean, I'll never forget her story of she was when the doctor said to her, look, she's not going to look the same. She'll be blind in the right eye. She won't know who she is. She'll be brain damaged. She looked at them and she said, no, you're wrong. No. And they looked at her like, they felt pity for her. But you know what? She was right.
She was right.
She was right. She said, she wasn't giving up on me, and neither was I.
Yeah.
So not everybody has that. I'm so grateful. Not everybody has that. But the point is that was supportive to me because I gained independent strength. So someone that doesn't have that support system, perhaps they don't have family, or the family is supportive, but perhaps there's the cotton wool element, which is understandable. That's where, well, that's one of the reasons I do what I do. You've got it in you. I know you do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think and everyone has it in them. It just, you know, you need to be able to tap into it.
In their own version.
Yes.
With their own personality. Everybody's different. So look, I'm not special. Anyone, if I can defy the odds, if I can do this, anyone can.
Anyone can, yeah.
And if I can be that inspiration, hope, and help share what I've learned to help other people, that's my tragic opportunity. That's my why.
Yeah. And I love that. You know, like that's my takeaway from today, is that any, you know, tragic is an opportunity. And, you know, and you're living proof of that, you know, and it's our choice to decide where that tragic takes us. You know, we can all roll over and say it's too much, and, you know, but we can also all stand up and say, this is now my opportunity to grow, to be, you know, to be my own strength and to lead in this world, in our own way. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And I've got processes that I take people through around that. And it's very much about living in the present and the power of choice. I've got methods around this, and I refine them over the years, because this is about, you know, the power of choice and how we view things and what we can do. I'm big on taking action. And this is, defying the odds is possible.
Yeah. Definitely. Wonderful.
Absolutely, Deborah. This is amazing.
So Deb, we'll put in all of your links to you know, your Facebook groups and your book. So if anybody does want to reach out and find you, they'll know where to go.
Here's my book earlier.
I
don't have steak knives, but here's my book.
This is beautiful.
I know I definitely will be getting a copy of that. That's for sure.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for joining us today. I have so much, I've taken so much in. I feel like I've sat back and there's so much that I've absorbed, and I'm going away to process. There's so many takeaways that I have from your words of wisdom and experience here today. And I'm really grateful that you've been able to join us to discuss this topic with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute privilege. Thank you.
100% agree with you, Beck. This is lots of to take in and lots of to take in. A book is worth reading beyond trauma. This is what we all humans are. But I appreciate Deborah by saying that we are not special, but I think you are special, and we all are special because we are one.
Yeah, we're all special.
Are one. And we are here to make everyone special as well. So I definitely accept your humbleness, and it's really good to be here. But one thing I want to take away from here is like you understand in a very simple way your journey. So the triggers, the reacting and reactions, and how you can turn reacting into responding is also one of the key things that our listeners can take away. Everybody goes through their life challenges, and this is what is triggers. The trigger points, the reactions, the responding. So these are the three key words I take away from this whole debate topic, conversation with real experiences from Deborah, who is now going to make our lives, at least my life, and I don't know, Beek's and others' lives, really turn into that humbleness, that specialness, but also actually giving us opportunities, creating our own opportunities. This is what I learned from this topic today, that you are not just a living experience, but you are an creating of opportunities through these tragic moments. And this is what I would take away from this. So thank you so much that we are now have opportunities to create some of the more opportunities to bring you back.
Yeah, definitely.
Am I right, Beck?
Definitely.
Beck would love that, and I would love that to have you back on different topics, because you have got so much to share, and we can't complete everything in 30 minutes, 40 minutes. But nevertheless, it's a great pleasure to come and bring you on this platform and share your experiences and know your experiences and learn from you. And we all learn from everyone and each one. So that's the unique of humans that we are made up of. So that's why our podcast series is Freedom of Free Spirited. And the whole theme is we are one. So when we say we are one, we are one by sharing our experiences and empowering others. And what I take from here is the opportunities that we can create for others and others can create for us, vice versa, which is definitely a beautiful moments that we are taking away from this episode today. So controlling emotional reactions is what is all about. How do we control? And I guess my listeners and other listeners who we will be publishing this, and we will be also publishing again, as Vic said, to Deborah's contacts and connections. And beyond trauma is definitely a topic that we all like to uncover ourselves and give us that extra confidence and extra self-care, really. So thank you once again, Deborah, for coming on to this episode and show. And we will look forward to bring you back again. So over to Beck to finish it off. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will be back next week. If you'd like to join us on Thursday, we've got another topic. We'll bring that to you next week. Thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you, Shailesh, for being here today.
Thank you so much, Beck. And thank you, Deborah, once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.